there's a beetle that lives in the desert. The water is so scarce in the desert that the only way this beetle can get access to water is through the dewdrops in the morning. There's no other source of water, and it cannot survive without water. So every morning, all these beetles climb up the sand dune, these huge sand dunes, and go to the top of the sand dune, and they bend down in the posture of a prayer. The dewdrops settle on their back, and slowly they run down and go into the mouths of the beetles. Every time when someone mentions the word prayer, this image comes to my mind.
A bug in the desert.
Yeah, a bug in the desert. You should actually watch this bug. It's a black beetle. There are two ways of looking at this, and two ways of looking at, prayer. The same activity, the same phenomenon of life can be interpreted in two ways. One is very scientifically, objectively, and the other way as a form of prayer. So let's look at it scientifically. Scientifically, it's a desert, so water is an absolute necessity for an organism to exist. Throughout the day, the temperatures are so high, even that little bit of water that they have gathered through some sources, there are chances that whatever water that they gathered by eating some other organism, it just disappears in that hot sun. So, scientifically, it is a survival. These bugs have figured out that early morning there are dewdrops, and if they are able to, go up the sand dunes and wait in a certain angle, they have figured it out that the water settles on their back. It's just like dewdrops settling, and then once the dewdrop becomes heavy enough, it rolls down because of the gravity, and then they drink that water. Now, this is one way of explaining this whole phenomenon. Another way of explaining is this beetle is thirsty. If you look at it metaphorically, it is thirsty and it wants to pray so that it can get this water and survive. So it climbs up the mountain, a journey, an undertaking. Every individual has to go through this journey, pain, struggle, effort, to climb up the mountain and then just bow down and surrender. And existence manifests the water so that that beetle can survive. Existence is answering that silent prayer of that beetle. This is another way of looking at it. Now, prayer has enormous significance if you really understand what exactly it is. Prayer induces a state of silence. I'm not talking about a prayer where, okay, I want a BMW car, I want a big house, I want a nice, beautiful girl to be with. This is not prayer. This is just human desires projected in the form of prayer. Now, you can keep on asking for all these things, material comforts, physical comforts. Existence will not manifest that for you. That is not how existence works. If prayer can be looked at as a gateway to access something beyond, if prayer can be silent, if prayer can induce a meditative state, of course it can. Because look at the whole mechanism of praying. You isolate yourself from everybody, you close your eyes, you put your body in a still position, and you go in. Now, this is almost, I would say, 90% meditation. If you're able to just bring in silence into this instead of verbalizing your prayer, then that becomes meditation. Now, when looked at this process from outside, it just looks stupid. You know, nothing's going to happen out of it. Why is somebody praying? I mean, it's like instead of praying, they should be doing something else, to get what they want. But there is something that you need that can come only through this silent prayer. It cannot come through activity, it cannot come through effort. You know, only that effort, only that activity of that beetle, of going up the sand dune and just resting and waiting for something to happen. It waits for hours together. And you should look at all these beetles lined up in prayer, waiting for the water to trickle down. I think we are all like those beetles. You know, we are a part of something immaculately vast and beautiful. And every moment of our lives should be a prayer. I think we are moving farther and farther away from prayer, which is unfortunate. And also, prayer has been completely mistaken to be religious, because usually, it's a kind of religious praying that we associate with prayer. But really, every moment of life is a prayer if you think about it. Every step you take, every breath you take, every thought you generate your mind, if you're able to bring yourself to that moment, it is a prayer. Really, the most wonderful things that happen in your life simply happen. You don't create it. Life is just a beautiful happening. Just like that tree, I mean, it is just there and the branches are growing by themselves. It's producing the leaves and then the flowers and then the fruits, and everything is just happening by itself. It is the same even with a human being. You know, sometimes people ask, why do you grow long hair? It's like, why do spiritual people grow long hair? It's like, the only answer you can give them is, I don't grow my hair. It grows by itself. I just don't cut it. If you look at it, when you meet somebody, if they have a long hair, you say, oh, you've grown your hair. That language implies that as if every day he's gardening his hair, he's consciously growing it. See, it's a deception of language. But if you actually see, if you don't do anything, the hair will grow by itself. We only cut it. But the phenomenon is just like the tree branch. We're not that different from a tree if you actually think about it. If we just stand still, everything grows. Even without our conscious involvement. In fact, we are not even required for this process. For example, look at it. How different are we from a tree? If a man is able to just stand still, you come back after 10 years, he'd be totally grown like a bush. Lots of hair and nails would have grown longer. How different is this from that bark of a tree? It's not very different. See, the most beautiful things simply happen to us. Breath has happened to us. Thoughts have happened to us. The body has happened to us. Aliveness has happened to us. And we are simply acknowledging this phenomenon. Oh, this has happened to me. Prayer is a way of thanking existence, thanking life for this happening. Prayer is a gratitude, not to ask for things. We don't have to pray to ask. How much more can existence give you? Just think about it. It has given you everything. It has given you intelligence. It has given you awareness. It has given you a perfectly capable body. It has given you a way to find happiness. It has given you everything. Now, if prayer is not used to say thank you, then it is a useless prayer. If you're asking for more things, then that is not a prayer at all, isn't it? How often do we just stop, pause, and say, thank you for this experience? Just look at the sun and say, thank you for being there. Look at these trees and say, thank you for giving my breath. Look at the sky and say, thank you for sheltering me. Look at the ground and say, thank you for supporting me. We are a product of gratitude. We come because the earth has enough gratitude to say, okay, let life happen even this way. We're a piece of earth moving around. How thankful we should be to that intelligence, to that consciousness that has taken a piece of earth and molded into a human being and breathed life into it. Go, live. And prayer is a silent communion between you and the universe. It is a direct line, a direct connection. If for any reason you break this connection, you lose the attitude of prayerfulness. You lose this attitude of gratitude. You lose this ability to thank, then your life is just meaningless. That's what, in a way, has happened. We have moved farther and farther away from prayer, that silent contemplation, that silent witnessing, that silent awareness. And we're all the time asking for something. Isn't this the difference between a prayerful heart and a chaotic mind? A prayerful heart is just in gratitude, it's just in deep love. It's in deep contentment and satisfaction. Every moment thanking the universe for making all these things happen. For thanking life to be so beautiful just the way it is. On the other hand, a chaotic mind constantly asking for things. I'm not satisfied with this. I want something else. I want something else. Both are a part of us, and we need to figure out a way to balance between these two. If the balance tilts only towards asking and dreaming and desiring, then we lose prayerfulness. And once we lose prayer, we are losing the touch with our own hearts. That part of us that is always content. There's a part of you that is always satisfied. You just have to connect with it. There's a part of you that is always thankful for existence. Always thankful for this life to have happened this way. I mean, you would not want to be anything other than you, isn't it? Who would you rather be? If you think about it, although people talk about life being so difficult, it is so problematic, I bet not a single person would be willing to trade their life with somebody else's life. If they actually genuinely understand, how each person experiences life, you would never want to trade your life with somebody else's life. For what? Everybody has the same problems, same disturbance in life. If you're able to discover that there is a space within me where I can be contented, then you never have to be like somebody else. Then what you do on the outside is just a matter of, I would say, semantics. It's just a matter of appearance. It's just a matter of a way of life, that's all. But the central core of your being has to be a prayerful life. See, every day, if you are able to be in this silent prayer and eventually make this silent prayer itself your life, no, you don't have to verbalize this prayer. You don't have to go to the church. You don't have to go to the temple to pray. Just wherever you are, you can make that place your space of prayerfulness. Wherever you are. And at the most, you can just once in a while go into the nature. Just go into the womb of life and say, okay, I'm here. You know how magical it is to just walk into the woods. Just breathe the air that the plants are breathing out, and you breathe in and out with them. You see this beautiful process? You know, they're exhaling and you're inhaling, and you're exhaling and they're inhaling. This whole apparatus is breathing, this whole universe is breathing. And to be able to just be with that and feel that connection, that is prayer, ultimate prayer. Silence is the ultimate prayer, and meditation is the supreme prayer, isn't it? What do you do when you're meditating? You sit quiet. You just wait. Have a sense of gratitude. This beautiful idea has been totally polluted. Religion has completely polluted prayer. It has made prayer a means to an end. But prayer is not a means. It is an end in itself. You don't pray to get something. You don't pray to become something. You pray because it's your duty to pray. Because life has happened to you. There's no other bigger reason for which you need to pray. Just because life has happened, you can pray. Isn't it? See, a heart that is devoid of prayer eventually withers of isolation and it dies. You know, the only nourishment for the human heart is prayer. Because when you're in prayer, you are stepping away from your chaotic mind. You're stepping away from your disturbing body. You're stepping away from all the ideas that have defined you, that have limited you. You're stepping away from all those people who have criticized you, who have ridiculed you, who have treated you badly. You're stepping away from all that and entering into that pure inner space of non-judgment and being, where not for a single moment you have to judge whether you're right or wrong, whether you've lived this life well so that you can go to some heaven. You don't have to do all that. Prayer is not to go to heaven. It is to realize that you're already in it. If this is not heaven, I don't know what else is. We can make a hell out of this. That is what we are doing. By not understanding that this is our paradise, this is our garden, this is our space. And all we need is a little less of ambition, little less of greed, little less of possessiveness, a little less of dictatorship, and a little bit of love, gratitude, simplicity, and prayer. So in that sense, prayer is not an important part of life. It is an indispensable part of life. If you really understand what prayer is, then you know without prayer, life is meaningless. I would rather believe that those beetles are walking up the sand dune and praying in the morning, and that prayer is being answered, than to think that they're just doing it for survival.